Hello, and welcome to the June 19th, 2018 edition of SIG Cluster Lifecycle meeting. Hopefully one of our last meetings before the Kubernetes 1.11 release. And as such, the agenda is mostly focused around what we're doing for that release. So Tim, you want to kick us off with the kubeadm milestone issue?
Okay, I just have a couple of questions with regards to some of the documentation things that are in flight. The only one that I haven't seen, Lubomir, is the setup copy edits. And I don't necessarily know if we need to modify these. There already exists the main documentation, but this is a separate one. Are there updates to this doc that are in flight in the PR?
So we don't have a PR for this, and the idea here was to change it in time, because we really don't have time right now to update the implementation details.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should move this to the next milestone.
Okay, I'll take a look at this too later on to see if there's anything that actually requires updates. Most of the main documentation is already covered now, so I'll leave this tab open or this issue open.
So that one is probably going to take some time to. So the implementation detail is probably going to take some time to update, as there have been a lot of implementation detail changes in the latest release. But if we could send a quick patch or something that that just states that the current implementation details doc is for 110, and then whenever we have time to do 111 as soon as possible, of course, but it's not blocking for a new release. So then we can just say that here we go.
So I can basically send a note on top of the implementation details page. We should merge this to let the users know that this is outdated a little.
Well, I just say that it's for 110.
Oh, okay.
I can take a look at this too. I have time today because I'm devoting most of my time to planning and release stuff. So I could take a look at this doc today, and if need to, oops, this is the different one. This is not the one I was looking at.
No, yeah, you moved it already.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
but I can take a look at it later on today.
Okay, yeah, it's basically like the kubelet changes are the most significant ones, and then there's changes in flags and some the CRI pre-pull stuff is also one.
I already have a portion of that in place. So here's the rest of the docs that we have on the list that haven't merged. The 110 to 111 upgrade doc, Liz has a doc there, and there's plenty of comments. I think she's going to churn on that one soon. So let's just remove the other stakeholders so we're just clear on some of this stuff. Right. Kabam. Command list overview. Lubomir has this doc up, and I LGTM'd it after the last modifications. I think it's just waiting on Jennifer now.
So this one was about the list of commands, and we have the commands already, but the reference pages need refactoring, and it's still not decided if we should refactor them or not. But yeah, this is kind of solved already in terms of the commands. The commands are already there.
Okay, should we mark this one as closed? I think I was thinking of a different doc actually.
So I'm not sure how we should proceed. Maybe we should leave it, but change the milestone and discuss it with Jennifer again. I don't know.
That sounds fine.
So this is for a placeholder, or?
My proposal there was to remove most information out of the references and leave only the commands in there, what are the commands doing, and possibly only link to the future folder of kubeadm where we want to move everything,
Yeah.
Because right now we have a bunch of info in the reference and in a lot of different folders.
Yeah. We definitely need to consolidate that. Is Jennifer on the call today, or?
No, I think she said on SIG Docs that she's going out and she's not even going to join their meeting.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, for the most part, the 111 docs are done. The docs team isn't adding anything more, so we're going to have to hit the next train as soon as the docs are lifted for 111.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have to hit, because there's a bunch of PRs that are currently pending right now that are, some of which have been LGTM'd, that will all have to merge after the release now at this point.
Yeah. That is the case for my I sent yesterday the V1 Alpha 1 to V1 Alpha 2 documentation and the kubelet integration stuff.
So that's part of this comments here, and I wanted to, there's a broader discussion about, should we even be documenting alpha things at all in the main docs, or should we be linking out configuration stuff to docs that we host on the kubeadm or markdown pages on the kubeadm repo? Because putting major documentation out there in the wild for alpha grade things is generally like a frowned upon thing. And once we reach beta, sure, I don't care. But this is a migration from V1 Alpha 1 to V1 Alpha 2, which should only, if you know, it's not something I don't think is warranted on the main doc site.
Yeah, so the way we handle the config stuff is we handle it on a beta level, but since Kubernetes, what is it called? Like the policies are very strict, which is super. We still intend to change the structure. We have to have it at alpha, obviously. So, but we still treat the consumers of the config as beta. That we always have an upgrade path, and as long as you have something, you can go from version to version and always be like successful in that. So that I do think that it makes sense to not for offer features generally, but for this case, I mean, there's a lot of people using the config file.
Then we should definitely put some clauses and warnings that you're still, with that exact clause that you stated, we try to treat this as beta, but this is an alpha config file, which could potentially have incompatible changes going forwards. So as long as we put that clause at the top, I'm fine with making that modification.
Yeah, I think I have something like that, but it could definitely be like said more clearly, like with better, maybe some box as well, like some colors or whatever, so it's more visible.
Flashing.
Yeah.
I know Chuck and Ruben are finishing up the HA documentation, which is, yay, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
But the upgrade HA configuration which is part of Chuck's, I think, note here. Yeah, it's related to this note, is not currently working because of how we change things. You want to talk about that, Chuck?
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of a conversation I wanted to have. As I joined and got ramped up on kubeadm, there are a lot of different methods of installing Kubernetes that we provide, and we don't necessarily care about all of the options. I think it might help us going forward to stay focused and have some kind of a support matrix of the configuration options we do care about and want to support for various versions. So for instance, right now, if you have an external etcd, it's not possible to run kubeadm upgrade apply. It just won't work. You can do like manual certification certs moving around to get it to work, but it's not something that's supported out of the box. We also have things like, sorry, go ahead.
I thought external etcd upgrades worked. It would just not do the. Wasn't that?
No, it tries to create. It requires the ca.key for the etcd ca.key.
Oh, I
have a ticket and it links through the code and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
But
cool. Yeah. I was just surprised.
This is a broader question where like we've never actually said we're even alpha grade support for HA. And we're kind of trying to tread there by the time we get to GA. So like a lot of the work that Chuck and Jason have done in simplifying the instructions and getting etcd secured, and that the work that Lee also did, and as well as fixing a lot of the upgrade issues that currently that existed, is to get it to that stage, right? But we haven't officially said that we support this. So I know a lot of folks created the documentation, but they were community driven. They weren't necessarily driven by the SIG itself. So I would just want to be clear that like we need to make sure we have formalization. And we had some of that in the original docs, but I think it belongs in the kubeadm repo that says like, here's the current feature list and here is what the grade of support is for kubeadm.
I would expect that to be in the docs.
Not in the docs. We even talked about this with the docs team. The docs team has said this does not belong here, and we ripped it out because it doesn't belong there. But in the kubeadm repo to reference until it's GA, then yes.
So why doesn't it belong to like, here is the features? I mean, that is the first thing in like client Go, for example. Because here is the matrix.
If it's in the client Go repository, if it's in the kubeadm repo, absolutely. Go for it, and we should link to it, right? But not in the mainline docs, right? That was one of the things where we don't even want to tell users about alpha grade feature support unless they're looking for it, right? Because it's more confusing to the newcomers to the community than it is to actually illuminating them or wanting to try something new, right? So the contentious point was that it's not done anywhere else in the actual docs, and it should have been removed.
Okay, but I was thinking like if we say that we have both external etcd and internal etcd that we support, shouldn't we say that we support these two modes? That we support both external etcd, internal etcd together with static pods, for example. Isn't that and everything's like GA of that? Isn't it something we should mention? Or
yeah, it might be useful to link back to it from the places that into kubeadm.
So this is specifically for the HA configuration that was deployed via the HA setup previously, right? This is not just if somebody else had their own certs and certificate environment where we didn't have to set it up, if it was done completely external, then it should not be a problem. But I think this was the partial configuration that was deployed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. We should let's start with doing it in the kubeadm repo, and I really for next cycle I really want to get external CD normal upgrades working. That is definitely a bug.
Yeah.
I thought we supported like both on like beta GA level. Whatever we.
The workaround is not terrible.
Good, yeah.
But it's close.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, of these, I would going for GA. Just like quickly, as you asked, I would say external etcd, internal etcd, together with single master self-hosted, is the matrix we want to support. Then we're gonna add something multi-master that we haven't agreed on yet as alpha, and then I don't know if we ever want to do self-hosting like that much. We'll just see.
Yeah,
I've kind of
it's a question mark at least.
Yeah, I've kind of come to the point now where I don't see self-hosting as a differentiating feature that's worth pursuing anymore. Because with Cluster API, you could solve a lot of these problems cleaner, right? And manage it via that mechanism.
Just to clarify for the notes, Lucas, your proposed matrix for GA, you out of the things Chuck put here, it was both external and internal etcd, only single master. I think you said self-hosted, but did you mean static pods?
Oh yeah, I might have said self-hosted, but I meant static pods. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Right. Okay, so that sort of constrains our space to one way to deploy pods, single master, and then we'd need two tests, basically two different types of tests
for etcd.
Deployment and upgrade for the two different etcd deployments.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a very
That's great.
roundabout way to get to his issue. So the doc is in flight, and then we have these other docs which are there. I think everything else here is actually in flight.
Yeah, and this document controlling kubelet config via version file. That is basically. So I created. If you open the user stories issue,
Oops.
the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your PR.
Yeah. So there's my two PRs, and the kubeadm integration stuff fixes the document version file thing, the other issue that you had in the milestone there. So whether we want to keep them in the milestone with this PR fixes, or whether we want to just move them to the next, so we just send a clear message that to the release team that are also looking at this milestone, as these create new documentation based on user stories, document controlling kubelet config via version file. These will probably merge the day after the release or something. So that's why I think we should put them out of the milestone, because the release team will check this milestone. Is everything okay? And then we're going to go ahead with the release, right? So,
they still pertain to the 111. They still pertain to the 111 release. They don't. I already talked with them this morning. They're not concerned about anything in the list. What they're concerned about is the next part, which is the tests. There's a couple of tests that are showing up as red, and I think Aish is on the call too. The first test that I looked at that's a little concerning is the kubeadm GC upgrade to stable master. The kubeadm 110 to 111 looks fine. It's just the master one has been read with a bunch of other tests that I don't think should be read, besides the ones that are known knowns.
Yeah, these. I think, or that looks really like something in the upgrade framework.
That's entirely possible. Yeah.
As I don't think upgrade one. I don't think there is a difference between 110 and 111 and stable master at this point, code-wise.
That's what I was going to ask: is how far has master diverged from the 111 branch?
Very minor. Well, there's a bunch of minor PRs. I mean, we did a fair number of PRs since beta whatever, before RC. So I think we can also just wait until the RC cut before we investigate and see if the RC cut if it changes at all. Because the RC cut's tomorrow, right? So
yeah,
I honestly don't think, because this has been this way for so long, and the 111 tests have been green for so long, I'm not concerned about it. But it's just to keep a heads up, and when we do the RC cut, somebody should take a look at it, which will probably be me at this point.
But yeah, just to clarify, I think that the upgrade 110 and 111 also, it doesn't test latest betas. It tests latest on the release branches. So it does. I don't think there's a difference if we cut a beta or not, or like an RC or not. It's testing from latest on the branch anyway. So I think
they're not doing fast forward merges. Not that I'm aware of yet. Like they're not taking master and merging it to 111. Not that I'm aware of.
It's happening on occasion, but not as aggressively. So if there's an RC about to come tomorrow, that'll be just preceded by a fast forward. So if there was something on master, then we'd expect to see it show up on the branch.
Okay, cool. I thought it was done like periodically or something.
Right. So that's the first test. The second test is not related to kubeadm, but they wanted to talk about it here because Robert's here, so we can poke Robert on this. There's a bunch of flakes going on with the GC upgrade tests, and this is all out of /cluster that I'm aware of.
Okay, so this is different because Aisha's also been poking us about the reboot tests being flaky. So it looks like the upgrade tests are also flaky. I know someone's looking at the reboot tests being flaky. I don't think anybody's looking at this yet.
But this has been flaky for a while, and this is not related to kubeadm. So this is just the This is the cluster stuff, right? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. This is all driven off the bash script to upgrade clusters.
Yeah.
So go ahead, please.
I was going to say, it does seem like it's not that one test is consistently failing. We have kind of a smattering, it looks like, of different failures.
Yes, you do. Yep.
Okay. So it's not clear to me whether that's actually a SIG cluster lifecycle. Is the upgrade framework broken, or are people's tests flaky when being run during an upgrade?
Well, I think there's a higher flake rate on this suite than there are on other suites. Aish, can you speak to this? Is she still here? Or is she late? Oh, she's gone.
Oh, she was here just a second ago. Yeah, so we're not sure. We're trying to get a little more data because of the way test grid only shows a limited window of time. We wanted to see just anecdotally if people feel like this has been something that historically has actually been flaky. And because this release is pretty clean, then are we just noticing that this is the one area where we're seeing some red? So I don't know, Robert, if you have any anecdotal historic sense on this.
I don't. Chris Rousey from the Google side has historically spent a lot of time looking at upgrade tests. So I can ask him if he has a sense of what these looked like in the past. It does look like there are test runs where we see like quite a few failures, and I wonder if there's also some failure correlation going on, where if there's one test that fails, a couple others sort of come along into the failure party. Because a lot of the ones where you see one fail, there'll be kind of a swath. Like, I guess I'm not looking at 10 screen anymore, but back on 6.11, there were quite a few that failed together. On 6.10, there were quite a few that failed together.
And these are also modestly long running, so potentially a little more likely to hit some random infrastructural flake that causes an issue.
I do notice that there's a high degree of serial tests that are flaking. So if you look at at least in the recent history, yeah, well, even going back a while. So serial tests are notoriously flaky. So
yeah, maybe they hit some random timeout, or would it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, like, let's kill a node and wait for a new one to show up if there could be flakes in the infrastructure that takes a little bit longer than we'd expect, or the overall system is like slightly changes parameters of how fast things happen. And if we have like hard-coded timeouts, then those things are going to start to flake over time.
So isn't there a way to get like feedback from people who wrote the tests and
Well, the problem is somebody needs to hunt it down. You need to hunt it down, and by the time you actually find out what's going on, you usually have a PR to fix it. So it's kind of like if you find it, there's no filter triage mechanism to basically say like these tests are flaking. Usually, what happens is it goes to the SIG lead. The SIG lead then figures out what the problem is, and then actually creates a PR to fix the tests if they can. I think what we're currently doing is like it's one of those things where it's like pass the hot potato. No one wants to own this hot potato because flakes are not fun to debug. They require a fair amount of time and effort to be able to root cause them, and sometimes they're cascading. So hot potato to Robert.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the top failures, at least recently, there's a large number of scheduling ones that are also marked as serial. So I'm going to go track down Bobby and see if he can spend a few minutes looking into those.
Yeah, what's interesting too is that if you look at this, we'll take a look at this later on too, but the kubeadm upgrade stable master, I also see the scheduler predicates also failing.
Interesting. And I do think there was a little bit of churn in that code.
There was.
Related to the release. So that actually might be indicative of bugs as opposed to just flaky tests.
Yep, or both.
Or both, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Bugs in the tests or in the code, one or the other. Oftentimes they're correlated.
Right, that's what I had with regards to the 111 test issues. We already talked about the alpha feature thing. We just need to add a clause to your PR, Lucas, that basically is clear to the users what the expectations are.
Yeah, I had like note this section first, but using the pure, like the real docs semantics, I don't remember what they look like, but
yeah,
these boxes that are like red or green or blue.
I have just as folks are aware, this is a kind of a PSA. I'm going to bring this up during steering tomorrow, but there's a bunch of other areas of the docs where people have documented alpha grade features, even some that have been deprecated throughout the docs, and they're totally ill-maintained. So I want to make sure that when we do something, I'm not too hypocritical of calling other things out along the way. So I just want to make sure that like the stated goal is that we will strive to try to not to put mainline alpha features in the main docs because of the support nature of it. But as long as we have a clause, in the front of it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So okay, it's a longer discussion and everything, and I'm not sure we should have it now, but still it's unclear to me how people are gonna test our alpha stuff out if it's not documented. But yeah.
Well, you can
I'm fine.
you can link to developer docs. Like in our repo, we have developer docs, right? And we can actually have developer docs for those things, and that's a totally legit thing to do. And I think having a separate section which denotes as developer or prototype or alpha or like warning, danger, is required.
Yeah. So in our case, we're gonna do like the kubeadm repo, basically. Yeah.
So it's important from where are we going to link to this kubeadm repo documentation. And so the user is going to land on some page, and he has to know that we have some alpha features. So the question is, which page from the main documentation we're going to use to link to the kubeadm repo?
Well, we're not all there yet. So what we're going to do now as a stopgap is update Lucas's PR to have a clause at the top. But we absolutely need to like address the documentation structure for 112, and let's do it earlier in the cycle and talk with the doc folks so they're on board about like what's the process, policy, and procedures that we have for how the documentation should roll. And we started making a good chunk of that restructuring in 111, but let's finish it off in 112. Does that seem fair, Lubomir?
Yeah, we should bring Jennifer, spend a lot of time talking about this and discussing the structure, because she made some good proposals, and I think we should address the new structure.
Yeah, I think we're too late in 111. We have to hit this in 112.
So can we hit it during this? So can we change the structure of stuff during the cycle on master, or do we need to cut the release 112 branch super early and start changing a lot of stuff there, so master and release 112 diverges early?
I'm going to talk with Jennifer. We should bring her in. We should grill her on the logistics, but we can punt on this topic now.
Yeah, if you go to the milestone, the last thing the last thing we have there, bump default branch to use release 111. We should merge this before the RC, which basically means today. But I saw that critical, you could, if you want. So I just saw it has some unit tests fail. So yeah, but yeah, this is in our repo, but yeah. Yeah, if you go to the use release one, the PR there.
Oh, I'm labeling the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah, these have everything, but there's a basal unit test failure. So I'm thinking, should I? Yeah, maybe I issued a retest, but it's
if you need to
not going to work.
If you need to redo a PR because of the Basil problem, or you can't update his PR.
I'm not sure. I could, if you're fine with having one commit more, that fixes Like I think it was 2 unit tests failing, just some like silly stuff. But anyway, I think there were 2. If you're okay with having 1 commit more, I think he has the. I mean, he is probably sleeping right now due to the time zones.
I don't care.
So.
This is kind of trivial. Well, it's important but trivial. So like either do the Basil. You can do the Basil update, or I can do the Basil update. But this has to be done before the RC.
Yeah,
I think in terms of CLA stuff, it's easier if a single PR is from a single author and we're not mixing commits.
True. Yes.
That's why. Well, you can baseline your commit from original one and then do an add-on. So like if you just basically referenced him and did a cherry pick and then did a commit afterwards, that's what I typically do to give attribution.
Right.
Yeah.
That works fine. I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah, we don't want to like push to his branch. Hopefully don't have permissions anyway, but yeah, that makes it kind of ugly.
Yep.
Yeah. So cherry pick from his branch from his SHA and then just add your commit and then that's fine.
Okay. I'll open a new. It takes like 5 minutes to do this stuff, but it should be merged today, so we don't have to think about it when we cut tomorrow.
Yep.
And just like to be clear with what's going to happen, this is going to make kubeadm init from the RC fail, and that is expected. Just so folks are aware, because now we say that it should fetch stable 112 txt, which doesn't exist yet. So that is expected and fine. You just have to like point it to Kubernetes Kubernetes version 112 RC.
Yep.
But that's why we merge this really as late as we can before the RC, which should have no delta with the real release. Should we open an issue for creating or editing release notes?
So that was another topic.
Teams?
That was a topic. Did you get in touch with Nick Chase?
Well, kind of, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Just like GitHub. But that also meant I haven't time to look at it.
You were going to say something, Alex?
Yeah, I was just thinking, should we probably put the stable 1? It will mean what it will be using the latest stable release, like the biggest one at the point of time, without specifying a minor version.
Yeah, we could definitely think about that. I can't see why it wouldn't work, but we're not going to do it like 3 minutes before release, but maybe for the next time.
Well, the only way when it can fail is if our release infrastructure actually updating with stable 1 for, let's say, 1.9.6, but it shouldn't happen in theory.
Oh, no, I remember why we don't do this. Yeah, we can't know. Because when we do this, because kubeadm CLI 110 should, after 111 is created, we should see kubeadm CLI 110 should still create 110 clusters by default. Otherwise it will attempt to create a newer cluster than kubeadm itself is and fail. But we could make the detection smarter, yes.
We kind of already covered the documentation. I don't really have to talk about this, but we have like some new PRs, and if everyone can please have a look at your PRs to see what updates you have to make. Lucas, for your PRs, I think Jennifer has started doing like copy edits, and we should probably let her finish first. And I think everything is up to date in terms of the PRs, and we are good to go.
Yeah. What about the release notes and stuff?
So I don't exactly know what the logistics are for updating the release notes are. I was on the release call before this one, and we're supposed to be doing PRs to that separate repository with the actual release notes. And I do know that Nick is behind on communicating with a bunch of other folks, and there's a bunch of missing details. So I'm going to touch base with both Nick and Josh, I think, after this call to try and figure out where we stand as a SIG, getting our release notes in. I know we had the original lists. Has anyone actually created a draft from the list and made the PR?
So the thing is, and why, basically what I was trying to say with in the release channel is that having this as a GDoc, yes, it doesn't work in China, but which is sad, but it's way easier to actually move stuff around on a continually, and for a lot of more people than having to actually send a pull request. Wait a couple of hours for it to be merged, and then you notice, oh, it now has a rebase. Now you have to rebase, versus just moving this stuff, because there's a lot of just, okay, it's here in unsorted. Now I should associate a SIG with it, and this is in the wrong SIG. Let's do it in some other place, and let's like just uppercase all the SIG here, because now we have capital S but not IG. Such things are easily changed in a GDoc, and actually writing the adding PRs that are of note and removing stuff that isn't. You see, we have a lot of pending there, and yeah. And also, it seems like it's really someone from the release team should do the. I mean, GitHub seemed to have failed, or the automation around this, as the PR numbers aren't, and contributors don't have like links in all places. So before anyone starts doing anything, because it seems like no SIG has done anything to this yet.
So apart from the auto-generated release notes that come from the PRs, do we actually have to do we have to actually edit stuff, like adding paragraphs of text in there, or no?
I often do. In other releases, if there's something needed to be clarified, like add a new kubeadm upgrade node config command, for example. If I realize that this is too little information that is actually of worth, I might add a sub-paragraph.
So maybe we should copy this to the Google Docs and start editing there?
Yeah, for our podcast.
Well, okay. And we can just do a PR from the edit there for our subsection?
Yeah,
okay.
And as Neil said, we can just copy the raw markdown, so then we don't have to care about formatting.
Yeah.
Do you want to take point on this? We should probably open up an issue with release notes here.
Yeah, we should, please.
I can do it. But I don't have the link actually, so.
I pasted it in the meeting notes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna bring up this in the retrospective of 111. That we should revisit. I just know that I've seen a lot of activity this time in the cycle when we have had the earlier process. There have been a lot of people fixing stuff already, but now we have no activity at all so far. Also, it has changed location, which is make it hard for people to find.
But should we wait before these links in the release notes and the usernames start?
Let's ask in the release channel if they're on track fixing the links. Otherwise, we will have like a lot of rebase conflicts anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask right now.
Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna carry that one today. The document kubelet controlling stuff has a PR, so that is okay. And pretty much everything else. So I think we're in really good shape. As you saw, I also had sent 1 or 2 bug fixes yesterday, so should be fine.
All right, I can't think of anything else for this release. Do we want to start like planning for send out a PSA for start to talk about like major things that we want to major planning things for 112? We can start discussing that next week.
Yes, we should.
Okay, I can take an action and then to send an email to the SIG list for next week.
So what kind of format would you like this time? Should we like do a I mean, we've done different things, different releases. So should we like do a Google Doc with everything we see could be for GA, or so like should we have a focus on GA or 112 or both?
Well, I think 112 at GA should be one of the listed items. Let's do a tree view type of view from a single doc. So like, let's keep it realistic. I think GA is achievable in 112 given the resources we have now. Like we have way more people and manpower than we had before. Yeah. So we can probably accomplish it. So I think having a single doc is totally reasonable, and I can start the doc and send it as part of the list.
Okay, cool. One of the things might be packaging as well. that is not kubeadm, but yeah.
That's kind of like the whole release process, right? Like
yeah.
It's kind of...
But to a large extent, we own much of the stuff. Ihor asked me the other day whether we could like move away from Kubernetes Centennial, because that's what we have in our like, the apt repo, or what is apt channel? I don't know what it's called. But it does work on like way more than Centennial, but we just got that one place in Google's infrastructure and pushing all the stuff there. So getting that CNCF owned eventually would be super, as well as like doing Bazel. I'm gonna ask.
That's like a broader release problem question, which has existed for a long time. I don't know how to poke enough eyeballs. I can do it from steering, and because it's got to happen from the top down, right? Like, otherwise the system is currently in place to support, continuation of the cycle, but it's got to be like an edict from on high that says like, we shall, as a project, move the whole ship off of Google release process onto community-driven CNCF process. That's a policy change, right?
Yeah.
So I can make that effort.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, getting, or at least trying to execute on some of that stuff for 112 would be kind of nice, but obviously we'll see what, because everyone agrees that we should move it to CNCF for infra, but it's like just a matter of getting the persons dedicated to doing it, and the top level whistle that now.
Well, it's going to be multi-stage. I don't think there's any way this is going to happen for 112.
No, but
I think
happening.
I can start the political train first to get that, to force the issue, because it's been one of those things we keep on saying what we should do, and it's I think for the health of the project, this is something that we really should do.
Yeah, that sounds good. So you're planning to do like in your meetings, video call meetings, or in the mailing list of steering?
I was going to do it in video call.
Okay, yeah. If you ever send a steering mailing list, please CC me.
Yeah.
It's public, right? There's at least one public.
Yes.
Should be,
yes,
yeah.
Yep.
Cool. On updating the stable branch or whatever. Yeah. And for you, and I'm gonna wait for green light with regards to copy editing my my stuff on the docs. Then fix tech review. And for Lubomir, check with the release team to what the status of the release notes are, so we can do our stuff.
Yeah, posted a message already asking them.
Cool. Oh, I just saw that CRI tools GA. Yes. Probably everybody saw this before, but yeah. I don't know. Did you notice, Chuck?
I saw the PR. I didn't know it got merged.
Yeah. I'll paste the link here, and which means we can
update those things. Yeah, there's a couple of tickets open to clean up.
Yeah. So and that is yeah, that is like critical, urgent for our devs and RPMs in Bazel as well as Kubernetes release.
Cool.
Waited to switch it right before the release.
Yeah. Someone asked for GA like maybe a couple days before, and they got it today, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, for devs and RPMs, we should definitely update today if possible. Like, get the PR in before the cut tomorrow. So our Bazel artifacts for the RC at least have the right version. If anyone is using that, I don't know. But aren't you able to, if you branch the stuff, aren't we able to merge the CRI CTL PR in Kubernetes release at this point? Or
I can merge.
That one got merged.
That one did get merged. The CRI CTL already got merged.
Okay, cool. So that means the bump to the GA version of that can also merge.
Yep.
If it's a very minor PR, I can just use super user eccles to merge I don't know if we want to go, because otherwise we have to wait for a Google literature review.
Yeah, well, we'll see just if it takes a long time or not.
It's the release repository, so we got time there too.
Yeah, we do. Cool. Is there anything else? I can't think of anything else that would be mission critical at this point. I believe we're in a fairly good state. Yeah, cool, Alexander. Anything else? For our kubeadm office hours tomorrow, do we wanna? Can we see if Jennifer can join, so we could do the docs? Like, what kind of doc structure do we want? Or should we start planning 112 already tomorrow, if we have time?
I'm just taking a look at the calendar to see if Jennifer's out or not. Let me touch base with Jennifer and ask her, and we can see what happens.
Cool. Otherwise, I think it's a wrap for today. 2 minutes.
Perfect. You get 2 minutes back. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully we'll see many friendly faces tomorrow morning. The breakout meetings.
Yep. Bye.